At 4:44 in the morning on Sunday, August 16, 2026, Romanian surveillance systems picked up an unidentified aerial object crossing into Romanian airspace from Moldova, approximately 24 kilometers north of the southeastern city of Galați. Two Spanish F-18 Hornet fighter jets, already airborne on a NATO combat air patrol out of the 57th Air Base at Mihail Cogălnicianu, banked toward the contact. At 5:01, 17 minutes after detection, one of the Spanish pilots received authorization to fire. The drone was destroyed. Its debris fell between the villages of Baleni and Kudalbi in Galați County, an unpopulated area near the borders with both Ukraine and Moldova. The all-clear was given at 5:20. NATO spokesperson Marty O'Donnell confirmed within hours that the drone appeared to be Russian. It was the fourth drone shot down over Romanian airspace by NATO aircraft this year. It was the second interception on NATO's eastern flank in 3 days, after NATO jets downed a drone over Latvia on August 14th. And it was part of a pattern that has been accelerating all summer, raising a question that no one in Brussels or Washington wants to answer directly. How many Russian drones have to cross into NATO territory before Article 5 stops being a conversation and starts being a decision? That question has been accumulating weight since 2023, when the first fragments of Russian drones were found on Romanian soil following strikes on Ukrainian ports along the Danube River, ports that sit literally across the border from Romania. For 3 years, NATO's position has been consistent. The incursions are unintentional, the result of electronic interference and navigation errors, not deliberate provocations. The drones aren't aimed at Romania. They wander there by accident. But the accidents keep happening. And they keep getting worse. On May 29, 2026, a Russian drone didn't land in a field. It crashed into an apartment building in the city of Galați, injuring 2 Romanian citizens. This wasn't debris in an empty pasture. This was a weapon striking a civilian residential structure in a NATO member state. Romania expelled a Russian diplomat and recalled its ambassador from Moscow. Then came July. Between July 24th and July 26th, 3 consecutive days, Romanian F-16 pilots shot down 3 drones that had entered national airspace. These were the first such engagements in Romanian airspace since Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine began in 2022. After 4 years of finding drone fragments and filing diplomatic protests, Romania started pulling triggers. Prosecutors identified the July 24th aircraft as a Shahed-type drone, the same Iranian-designed weapon that Russia mass-produces and fires at Ukrainian cities by the hundreds. One of those July shootdowns occurred about 60 miles from Bucharest, the capital of Romania, a city of nearly 2 million people, home to NATO's multinational division's southeast headquarters. A Russian combat drone was intercepted within striking distance of a major European capital. And then, just days before the August 16th incident, another drone was detected in Romanian airspace near the Ukrainian border. It spent 12 minutes inside Romanian territory before crossing back into Ukraine. Spanish F-18s scrambled, but the drone departed before they could engage. An SMS alert was sent to residents of Tulcea County, warning them of a potential aerial threat. The day after that, a drone crashed inside Romania after crossing the country's airspace undetected, flying at such a low altitude that Romanian radar never picked it up. Romania's acting defense minister Radu Miruța has been framing the situation with increasing urgency. Romania is defending its airspace, and our allies are standing with us, he said after the August 16th shootdown. Vigilance, rapid response, and allied solidarity, these are the concrete guarantees of our security. He emphasized that Romania is on the front line of the European Union's defense, a position shaped by the 614 kilometers of land border the country shares with Ukraine. But it's not just Romania. The drone spillover problem is spreading across NATO's entire eastern flank. In June 2026, Latvia's military scrambled 2 NATO fighter jets after a drone entered Latvian airspace. The drone was shot down. Ukrainian drones have previously crashed in all 3 Baltic states, Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania, which all share borders with Russia. Officials in each case blamed the incursions on Russian electronic warfare, jamming and spoofing signals that cause Ukrainian drones to lose their navigation fix and drift across international borders into NATO territory. This is a critical detail that most coverage glosses over. Not all the drones crossing into NATO states are Russian. Some are Ukrainian, weapons launched at Russian targets that get hijacked mid-flight by Russian electronic warfare systems. Russia's electronic warfare capability in western Ukraine and the Black Sea region includes GPS spoofing systems that can feed false positioning data to incoming drones, redirecting them away from their intended targets and, in some cases, steering them across international borders. The result is a situation where Russian electronic warfare effectively weaponizes Ukrainian drones against NATO allies. Russia jams a Ukrainian drone's navigation, the drone veers off course into Romanian or Latvian or Bulgarian airspace, and NATO is left to decide whether to shoot down what might be a friendly asset or let it crash into a civilian area. Last week, Ukraine denied targeting Bulgaria after a drone entered Bulgarian airspace and exploded close to an international gas pipeline shortly after crossing the border from Romania. The implications of that near miss are staggering. A drone detonating near critical energy infrastructure in a NATO member state, regardless of which country launched it or which country's electronic warfare caused it to go off course. Moldova, which is not a NATO member, fields no fighter aircraft and has no allied air policing arrangement, is caught in the middle. The August 16th drone entered Romania from Moldovan airspace. On August 9th, a drone exploded near the village of Crocmaz in Moldova's Ștefan Voda district, prompting Chișinău to recall its ambassador from Moscow. The following night, Moldova's Air Operations Service tracked an aircraft crossing over Priozern for about a minute and assessed its characteristics as consistent with a Giron 3, the jet-powered Shahed variant now standard in Russian strike packages against Odessa. Moldova has no way to shoot these drones down. It has no modern air defense system. It has no fighters. It's a country of 2.6 million people sandwiched between Romania and Ukraine, watching Russian weapons fly over its villages and explode on its soil, unable to do anything except file diplomatic protests and pull ambassadors. The operational dimension of the August 16th shootdown reveals how NATO has adapted to this new reality. Spain took over the Romanian air policing mission from Italian and British detachments on July 31st. The contingent operates 7 FA-18M Hornets and approximately 200 personnel from Mihail Kogolnicianu, supported by an A-400M tanker aircraft with 3 NH-90 helicopters assigned to search and rescue. The mission is coordinated through NATO's Combined Air Operations Center at Torrejon, Spain, meaning a Spanish fighter pilot flying over southeastern Romania received authorization to fire from a command center in Madrid. This is what alliance interoperability looks like in practice. A Romanian radar detects a Russian drone entering from Moldova. A Spanish pilot, flying from a base named after a Romanian World War II hero, confirms radar contact. A command center in Spain authorizes the engagement. The drone is destroyed over Romanian soil, and the debris is investigated by Romanian prosecutors who will determine whether it's Russian or Ukrainian in origin. The system works. The drone was detected in 17 minutes, engaged in 17 minutes, and destroyed. But the system is also being tested in ways that expose its structural limitations. First, the altitude problem. At least one drone has penetrated Romanian airspace undetected because it was flying too low for radar coverage. Low-altitude drone detection requires a different sensor architecture: ground-based acoustic sensors, elevated observation posts, counter-drone radar systems specifically designed for slow, small targets. Romania is investing in these capabilities, but they're not fully deployed. Second, the identification problem. When a drone crosses into NATO airspace, the first question is, whose is it? A Russian Shahed aimed at Odessa that drifted off course due to navigation failure is different from a Ukrainian strike drone that was deliberately redirected by Russian electronic warfare. The response calculus is different. The diplomatic implications are different. And in the 17 minutes between detection and engagement, the fighter pilot may not have time to determine the answer. Third, and this is the question that keeps NATO planners awake, the escalation problem. Every drone that crosses into NATO territory is, technically, a violation of the sovereign airspace of a treaty ally. Article 5 of the NATO treaty states that an armed attack against one member shall be considered an attack against all. A Russian drone striking a Romanian apartment building, or a Bulgarian gas pipeline, or a Latvian border town could theoretically trigger the collective defense clause. NATO has been careful, deliberately, strategically careful, to avoid framing these incidents as Article 5 events. The official position is that the drones are accidental, the violations are unintentional. There is no pattern of deliberate aggression against NATO territory. But there is a pattern. 4 shootdowns over Romania in 2026 alone. Drone fragments found on Romanian soil repeatedly since 2023. An apartment building hit in Galați, a near miss on a Bulgarian gas pipeline, drones crossing Baltic airspace, a drone intercepted 60 miles from Bucharest. And now, shootdowns happening on NATO's eastern flank every few days. At what point does a pattern of accidents become a pattern of negligence, or something worse? At what point does NATO's tolerance for airspace violations become an implicit permission structure that tells Russia the eastern flank isn't a real red line? Romanian Foreign Minister Luminița Odobescu has been pushing for a stronger collective response, calling on NATO allies to remain united in ensuring that such violations are met with clear and firm responses. Romania has also been lobbying for additional Patriot air defense batteries, the same systems Ukraine desperately needs, to strengthen its own air defenses against the drone threat. The irony is layered. Romania needs Patriots to protect itself from the same Russian drones that are killing Ukrainians across the border. Ukraine needs Patriots to stop Russian ballistic missiles that Romania's current systems can't intercept. The United States doesn't have enough Patriots for either country because it's using them in the Persian Gulf. And the drones that keep crossing into Romania exist because Russia keeps firing them at Ukraine, which keeps firing back, in a war that has now spread its debris field across half of Eastern Europe. Defense Minister Maruța ended his statement with a line that carried more weight than its bureaucratic phrasing might suggest. Romania is on the front line of the European Union's defense. Front lines, by definition, are where the fighting is. Romania isn't fighting, not yet. But its F-16s are shooting down Russian drones. Its apartment buildings are getting hit. Its citizens are receiving SMS alerts telling them to take cover. And its fighter pilots are pulling triggers in the dark at 5 in the morning, trying to destroy objects that might be Russian weapons, might be hijacked Ukrainian weapons, or might be something else entirely. That's not peacetime. That's not quite wartime. It's the gray zone, the space between the two where accidents accumulate, tolerance erodes, and the distance between an airspace violation and an Article 5 invocation gets shorter with every drone that crosses the border. 4 shootdowns this year, a pattern that isn't slowing down, and a 17-minute window between detection and decision that will, sooner or later, produce an outcome nobody planned for. If this breakdown helped you understand what's actually happening on NATO's eastern flank, hit subscribe. Drop your take in the comments. At what point should NATO invoke Article 5?